Mikal Masa video, subscribe and share. Who are the Bantu? Bukongo, Kongo wisdom, teaches that in a distant past, the planet Earth experienced a lunar thermonuclear catastrophe, which disrupted the genetic code of the Bana Toto, the sons of the Earth, who, after this catastrophe, became Mbaka, pygmies, small men. To improve the genetic code of the Mbaka and restart normal evolution on this planet Earth, the Bana Zulu, the sons of heaven, came to this planet Earth, where they gave birth to a new race called the descendants of the Bana Zulu, who had as mission to raise by marriages the size of the genetic codes of the Mbaka, thus giving birth to a new race of men called the Bantu. Origin and evolution of primitive man. The evolution of early humans began in Africa, specifically in the Nile Valley and regions around the Nile's headwaters, known as Old Egypt. The first evolved humans were pygmies, who spread across Africa, Europe, Asia, the Americas, and Oceania, becoming the first inhabitants of these lands. Over time, human evolution progressed as follows: Bushmen, Masaba Negro, Nilotic Negro, Mossi, Mongoloids, Aryanists. Pygmies, Negrillos or Negrettos, still exist today in places like New Guinea, Bolivia, China, and northern India, though they have disappeared from regions like Europe, North America, and Australia. Based on Origin and Evolution of Primitive Man by Albert Churchward, 1912. The 12 tribes of the Bantu race were born from the marriage between the Mbaka and the descendants of the Sons of Heaven, who came from the Star Kakongo, in the periphery of the great sun of Zeta Dianinza, the center of the galactic world, the sun Sirius, companion B. The Dogon sages call Sirius A, Sigi Tolo, while companion B is called Po Tolo. The great extraterrestrial patriarch Nzala Mpandu, he who is filled with sacred knowledge, gave birth to 12 children, whose Bakongo are the descendants of Nalu Kengo, who is the eldest son of the 12 children of the patriarch Nzala Mpandu. Thus, the Bakongo became the eldest son, the eldest ethnicity of the Bantu who, after several differentiations, became the Benakongo, Bakongo, the Lunda, the Sokui, the Balamba, the Basanga, the Anamongo, Mongo, Batetla, the Ngombe, the Nande, the Hutu, the Bashi, the Hunde, the Mboshi, the Fang, the Bamileke, the Baluba, etc. The extraterrestrials who came from the Star Kakongo spoke a language which is very similar to the current Kikongo language, which is the mother matrix of the original Bantu language, which, by mixing with the different dialects of the Mbaka, gave birth to all these current Bantu languages. As the mixture of Latin with certain European dialects gave rise to French, Italian, Spanish, and Portuguese. The pure Kikongo language is the guardian of the initiatic science left to Nalu Kengo by the Son of Heaven who came from the Star Kakongo. For centuries, Lord Akongo used the Bakongo Magi and the Kongo language to transmit divine wisdom and the prophecies that Lord Amakongo predestined to the Bantu race of Central Africa. This is why the forces of evil have set up a plan to fight and make pure Kikongo disappear, which is the most powerful vehicle of Bantu wisdom. God's words: "You are my chosen people. Your first ancestors came from space, but you were born in Ethiopia. I brought you to Egypt, now I bring you out of Egypt, and I send you far beyond Ethiopia. I brought you to Egypt, now I bring you out of Egypt, and I send you far beyond Ethiopia. To be the head and the heart of this great region of Nintimansi, which goes from the ocean Katiopa, Kalunga, to the sources of the Nile. You will live in the land of the promise of the great king, the great Mani Kongo, who will come from heaven, from space. This is where the prophecies will be fully fulfilled. For, in truth, said the Lord, when the sons of the world of darkness succeed in collectively diverting the peoples of the earth from the right path, the light that will rehabilitate the world will come from Kongo dia Entotela. At the times predicted by the Lord, when the star of promise will come to Kongo dia Kari, ki equals the central Congo. You are the heart and the cohesion. Hold the center of the heart of Katiopa, organize, direct, guide, and gather the heart of Katiopa in accordance with the plan of the gods. The great central sun is watching you because you are the central Congo. You will be the heart and the head of the great Renaissance. For you are the land of the promise of the great king, the great Mani Kongo, who will come from heaven, from Kakongo, at the time planned by our Lord, the Lord Akongo, our God, Mumu Nzambia Tongo. You are my blessed land. Keep this scepter of power, the nine-knotted scepter of the elder brothers, for you are the guide of your brothers. The sacred law of the Lord Kongo is the light on your path. To you the love, the intelligence, and the power on earth. I am the one who came, who goes away, and who will return. The god Kongo made a promise to our Bantu ancestors of the future arrival of the divine king of the Bantu, who will be an extraterrestrial who will come from the Star Kakongo. It is Nenkua Tulendo, the powerful being, alias Nuavandu, Mwanango Kuamvuela Yatundu, which means bald head, the son of the leopard, and the man in the yellow cassock. Around 900 BCE, Israel, known in Congo as Isolele, I have chosen you, was already developing into a fully formed state with fortified administrative centers and stone palaces. One example is Megiddo, where the architecture mirrors structures later seen among the Bantu Hebrews exiled in Great Zimbabwe. When Europeans, identified as Edomites in this context, discovered Africa, they were surprised to find that the architecture of Great Zimbabwe closely resembled that of ancient Jerusalem, now occupied by others. For instance, Suba, an ancient village in present-day Israel, still carries a Bantu name, Suba, which means peepee in Bantu languages. These discoveries strongly suggest that the Bantu people once inhabited the Middle Eastern region known as Israel, leaving behind architecture and names as evidence. By 900 BCE, the regions of Jezreel and Samaria in Israel were well established, while Jerusalem only became urbanized around 700 BCE. Israel and Judah shared the worship of Yah-eh, Yah the Father, as noted in Jeremiah 31:9 and Matthew 23:9. However, they were also influenced by the gods of their wealthy neighbors, such as Baal, Astarte, and Molech, the god of the Ammonites, modern Berbers and Tuaregs. The languages and traditions of the Bantu people reflect their connection to ancient Israel. The Lingala language corresponds to the northern tribes of Israel, while Kikongo is linked to Judah in the south. By 800 BCE, both groups used a common alphabet, derived from the Congo Dia Sonica, an ancient commercial writing system. The legacy of King Solomon. King Solomon, known as Salama in Congo, ruled a united kingdom but allowed foreign influences to proliferate. His many wives and concubines introduced other religions, leading to his infidelity to the covenant with Yah-eh. As a result, God decreed that the kingdom would be divided after Solomon's death, 1 Kings 11:9-13. This division created two kingdoms, Israel, the northern tribes, and Judah, the southern kingdom centered on Jerusalem. The division of Israel and Judah, the northern kingdom, Israel, consisted of 10 tribes, including Ephraim, the house of Joseph. The southern kingdom, Judah, included the tribe of Benjamin and the Levites. Israel's religious center was Bethel, while Judah maintained its religious practices in Jerusalem, known as Salama, meaning completion or fulfillment. The mixing between the Israelites and the Canaanites continues. Judges 3:5-6 says that Israel lived among the Canaanites, and they took their daughters as wives and gave their own daughters to their sons and served their gods. This kind of mixing can lead to the two becoming one because they are all black. Who are the Canaanites? The Canaanites came from the first son of Ham, and they are Sidon, Hittite, Jebusite, Amorite, Girgashite, Hivite, Arkite, Sinite, Arvadite, Zemarite, Hamathite. Their locations are as follows. Sidon helped build the Temple of Solomon, 1 Kings 5:6. Hittite, two tribes came forth, one in Syria, Joshua 1:4, the other in Judah, Numbers 13:29. Jebusite, mixed with Benjamin in the mountains of Judah, Numbers 13:29, Judges 1:21. Amorite, mountains of Judah, associated with Abraham, Genesis 14:13. They became servants of Solomon, 1 Kings 9:20-21. Girgashite, related to the Sidonians, Phoenicians. Hivite, mentioned in Judges 3:3. Arkite, referenced in Joshua 16:1-3. Sin, northern Lebanon. Arvadite, mentioned as a Phoenician island in northern Syria, Ezekiel 27:8. Zemarite, from Sidon. Hamathite, a Canaanite tribe from the northern Syrian city of Hamath. Abari, a Canaanite tribe descended from Abraham, Genesis 14:13. This refers to Mamre in southern Canaan, Judah. And say, this is what Master Yahweh Nzambi, a Kongo, says to Jerusalem. Your birth and origin are from the land of the Canaanites. Your father was an Amorite and your mother a Hittite. Ezekiel 16:3. These two, mentioned in this verse, reveal that your father was an Amorite and your mother a Hittite, African peoples from whom Israel descended. These black African races traveled eastward and settled in Canaan before the region ultimately became known as Israel. One historian, Ella Hewley, wrote extensively about black biblical Hebrews, the Israelites. She highlighted critical details about this hidden history and summarized it as follows. Many of the Israelites who escaped their persecutors during the Roman-Jewish War later migrated to West Africa. 1,600 years later, their descendants were captured and chained by brutal slave traders. Dr. Yosef Ben Jochannan writes, there are many Hebrew Jewish tribes that were originally of African origin. These African Jews were captured in Cyrene during the rebellion of 115 CE. This rebellion also marked the beginning of a massive Jewish migration to the Sudan and West Africa. In North Africa, just before Christianity was legally adopted in Rome, during Constantine's reign in the 4th century, many Hebrew Jewish tribes were already present. African Jews, also referred to as the so-called Negroes, were part of rebellions in Cyrene during the Roman Empire's imperialism and colonialism. One question we must ask is this. If the original Jews were black, where did the white Jews come from? This is further evidence that many Hebrews migrated to Africa and some crossed the Atlantic and Indian Oceans. As a result, nearly every African American has some Israelite ancestry in their family tree, whether they are aware of it or not. A few years ago, some Black Americans conducted DNA tests to trace their African roots. The findings confirmed connections to places like West Africa, the Congo, South Africa, and southern Zambia. Interestingly, the Tonga word for sleeping cow reflected part of this shared cultural history. Southern African tribes connected with Hebrew Israelites from the Bible. A well-known Algerian Jewish author of the 9th century, Eldad the Danite, wrote about the first dispersion of Israelites after the Assyrians took over the northern kingdom in 722 BCE. The descendants of Ham, Hamites, and Shem, Semites, intermarried, showing that Israelites shared the same color, black and brown, indicating they shared the African continent. Latest research, led by Professor Abraham Shalom, found linguistic connections between the Tonga people of Zambia and the Zazuru in Zimbabwe. Their practices align with Jewish customs, such as abstaining from eating rodents and other non-kosher animals. Bantu migration. As the Bantus moved across Africa, they controlled regions in West, Central, East, and Southern Africa. They brought their cattle and traditions, such as circumcision for men. The Bantus were called Bar Congolo in the Congo and worked in what was considered Judah. The Bantus faced enslavement during wars and were sold directly to Europeans and Muslims. Slave trade statistics. Congo DRC and Angola, 39.4%, Mozambique and Madagascar, 4.7%, Senegal and Gambia, 4.8%, Guinea, Sierra Leone, 4.1%, Liberia and Ivory Coast, 1.8%, and Gold Coast, Ghana and Ivory Coast, 10.4%. The color of the Israelites in the Bible. The Bible provides explicit references to the physical characteristics of the Israelites. Several verses identify their color and features. Job 30:30, my skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with heat. Song of Solomon 1:5-6, I am dark but lovely. Look not upon me, because I am black. Daniel 7:9, the hair of his head was like pure wool. This description indicates the woolly hair texture of the Israelites. Daniel 10:6, his arms and his feet like polished bronze in color. Revelation 1:14-15, his head and his hair were white like wool, and his feet like unto fine brass as if they burned in a furnace. Acts 21:37-39, when Paul was mistaken for an Egyptian, it was due to his physical appearance. Aren't you the Egyptian who started a rebellion some time ago? This implies that Joseph, Moses, and Paul were often mistaken for Egyptians because they were black, resembling the native Egyptians with whom they had lived and intermarried for extended periods. Leviticus 13. The laws of leprosy in Leviticus 13 differentiate between healthy skin and the appearance of skin diseases. These passages highlight distinctions in skin color, reinforcing the dark complexion of the Israelites. Biblical evidence of Israelites in Africa. The Bible contains prophecies and references that connect Israelites to Africa and their migrations. Zephaniah 3:10, "From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my suppliants, the daughter of my dispersed people, shall bring my offering." Isaiah 18. This chapter describes a land beyond the rivers of Cush, Ethiopia, and people of great significance, further connecting Israelites to the African continent. Esther 8:9. This verse mentions the vast regions under Persian rule, where many Israelites lived and were scattered, some of whom were in African regions. Deuteronomy 28. This chapter contains the blessings and curses pronounced upon the Israelites. Verses like Deuteronomy 28:68 foretell their forced migrations and enslavement, which align with the transatlantic slave trade and displacement of African Israelites. Lamentations 5:11. These verses lament the suffering and enslavement of the Israelites, describing their affliction in foreign lands, including Africa. These verses lament the suffering and enslavement of the Israelites, describing their affliction in foreign lands, including Africa. The Bible provides clear evidence that the Israelites were people of color, as seen in descriptions of their skin tone, hair texture, and mistaken identities as Egyptians. These verses also point to their migrations and historical presence in Africa. If you resonate with this message and feel aligned with the truth of our shared history, we invite you to join our growing movement. Let us reconnect with our roots, embrace our heritage, and rediscover the wisdom that unites us. Subscribe to stay updated and receive more content like this. Share this message to spread the truth and inspire others. Together, we can reclaim our identity and fulfill the purpose we are called to. Welcome to the journey. Mio masa idio inta.